Here we are going to have a very enlightening activity together. I'm asking you to fill out this table, as you can see, with the knowledge you have. And what it is about repaying a debt. So you are going to get that confidence. You already now know how to create those tables that many of the people think they are complicated, and only the people who are experienced in this field, they can do that. But I'm going to show you just with the things you already know. Now you can fill it out when you know some general things about the loan and repaying plan. Okay, here we have repay of loan $5,000 in 5 years, interest rate 8%, and we are going to check together plan 1. Okay, and it is constant principal payment of 1,000. We are going to talk about these things more, but it's a plan. So how do you want to get your money back? And you can devise many diverse type of plans. So for example, when you are working in a mortgage company and you are just coming up with a new plan, when all the numbers works, when the numbers adds up, you can create your own and offer it as one of your product at your financial institution. So I want you, my friends, to start filling out this table. Of course we are going to discuss it, but as the routine in our class, we are not immediately spoil the challenge, because these challenges that you see in front of you are classic ones that can help you a lot in gaining knowledge and experience of the field. Okay, so and of course you need to grow a good understanding of tabular data when you are working in the field of finance. So here in this column we have balance at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of the year 1, they give you $5,000. And we have interest balance at the end of the year, interest payment, principal payment. We know about principal payment because it is part of the plan. So you are going to pay $1,000 year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. But it is not all the total payment, because you also need to pay the interest. And of course, again, if you compare it with your mortgage, or if you compare it with your repaying plan of financing your financed car, you notice that your total payment is fixed amount per month, but here the principal amount is the same. I told you there are many of these plans that can be devised and can be used. So before I talk more about these things, I'm going to give you time so you start working on the numbers and start writing down the things that you think are correct before we continue working on them. So stop your video and work on this challenge and try to fill out all the cells you see in front of you. Here I have transferred the table to an Excel sheet so you can see the formula and everything. Okay, so we have this. We are now at the beginning of year 1, and they have given us $5,000. So I want to know how much interest I should give at the end of year 1, because the interest is annually. So I have these times 8%. So it's the total amount of interest I should pay at the end. If I need to pay at the end of the year $400, and also I have the balance of $5,000 at the beginning, what is my balance exactly at the end of the year? My balance would be the balance at the beginning plus the interest. Correct? Now here you should get some sort of understanding that, for example, when you are paying some outstanding balance that you have with credit card or anything, many times we are not paying it off completely and still we need to pay interest. So it is the point. That's the reason we have these two columns, because it is telling you you have to pay $400 interest. Now here it is asking you how much you want to pay of that interest. If you don't pay all the interest, of course you are going to pay interest over the interest. That's something we should be very careful when the interest rate is high. So in this case, since it is the first one that we are doing together, I'm going to say I'm going to pay all the interest for year one. So I'm not going to pay interest over interest. So you have the interest payment 400 and also the principal payment, as we mentioned in the plan, it is the fixed amount of 1,000. So what is the total payment you have at the end of year one? You have the principal payment plus this one. Go and check the statement you receive for financing your car or for financing anything from your mortgage. Now you should have a better understanding of the numbers over there. Okay, so the total payment was this, and the balance at the end, the total payment at the end of year one, and the balance at the end of year one. So what is the balance at the beginning of year two? It is balance at the end of year one minus the amount you pay. So now it is your balance at the beginning of year two. Isn't it amazing? Just with a logic we discussed together before about the relation of future value, present value, interest rate, we can create our own type of statement. Okay, we continue the things. The same thing. How much is the interest? How much is the balance at the end? How much of the interest we are going to pay? We are going to pay all of it. Principal is the same because it is part of the plan, and we can devise infinite number of plans. So how much we are going to pay? We are going to pay this much, and we continue these. Okay, now we are going to check everything together. This line 3 is fine, and you see your payments get less and less. Why? Because you are keep paying a fixed amount of principal every month. So since the balance become smaller and smaller, so the total amount of payment would become less and less. In regular mortgages that we pay fixed amount of money, the principal is not the same. It always increases month to month. Okay, 4 we have this, and at the beginning of year 5 the balance that we have is 1,000, and here we get this interest we paid, and at the end we are paying that amount. And now let's go for subtotal to see how much so now you are seeing during these 5 years you have paid $1,200. It doesn't make sense, balance at the end, so we don't need the sum, interest payment and principal payment and the total payment, and that's it. So again, when you see the answer, now go and compare it with your answer and stop it, replay it, and make sure you understand every point about this simple plan we just developed with the logic we learned. And that's financial management. It's not about math, it's about logic. It's about putting the numbers next to each other and create such a plan. Now we can do the same thing for 30 years with different decisions. Do you want your principal to be the same? Do you want your principal increases every year, for example 1%, or that type of thing? Stop the video and review everything and make sure you are good. Let's do another activity together, and this time you should be more active regarding getting your answers. The previous one was some sort of the first plan that we are working on, but this one, now you know about the logics, and so you should see the shower of your experience and knowledge on the Excel sheet, on the paper you have in front of you, faster and more spot on. Okay, so here we have the same case. The customer, for example, is the same, and we are just offering them different plans. Repay of the loan $5,000 in 5 years, interest rate 8%, exactly the same as the previous case. But the difference is that we are saying that you don't need to pay us anything from principal until the end of year 5, that you come and pay off everything. So you see, it is just a plan. So it is like that. You are going to get your mortgage and you say that I don't want to pay any principal. I'm gonna pay all the principals at the end of year 30. It's a plan. So now we want to see if that's the case, how would be the yearly payment of that customer. It seems interesting plan. Let's see what will happen. But before you see what will happen, you stop the video and you try to fill out the table yourself to see when the client says they don't want to pay any principal amount, they want just to pay interest. So they avoid interest on interest. How would be the plan look like? Stop the video and good luck with your numbers. One point that we do when we compare different plans, this column is important. Interest payment. So remember, in the previous one we paid $1,200 over 5 years, and let's see what we will pay here.